Hello everyone and welcome back to my second channel. My name is Jack Edwards and this is my summer reading list. These are the books that I want to read over the next few months, and I hope that this can inspire you to pick up a book that you might end up really loving. So honestly, without further ado, let's just dive straight in. Firstly, Die My Love. I will say I am already a little bit of a way into this. So I have read 58 pages, although the book is quite short. It's only 123 pages long, so I will be finishing this very, very soon. But this is Die My Love. It's by Ariana Harwicz and translated by Sarah Moses and Carolina Orloff. This was longlisted for the Booker Prize back in 2018, but you will probably recognize this title more recently because it has been adapted into a major film starring Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson. I am so intrigued by how they're going to do this, because obviously I'm halfway through right now, but this is a book all about a woman's sort of descent into madness. It's very in her head. It's not very dialogue heavy, so I'm intrigued by how they will make that work on the screen. Also, the role that I think Robert Pattinson is playing is very, very small in the book, so I hope that they've expanded that a little bit, but I am really, really enjoying this book so far. I think it's going to be very highly rated from me. It's set in the French countryside. It just feels like such a summery read. It's about motherhood, it's about womanhood, it's about the banality of love, but also how much your own desire and how much your own urges can actually sort of scare you. She talks about the brutality of another person carrying your heart forever, which even that line is exquisite, you know, so I really think this is such a special book and one I can't wait to finish. As soon as I finish filming this video, I will be getting into bed and I will be reading this. There's this real unrestrained sort of quality to the writing. As much as the character begins to sort of run wild, it feels like the author is doing so too with the writing and just having so much fun with it. So I'm really enjoying that book so far. And these ones I have not yet started. Well, this one here, Universality by Natasha Brown. I loved Natasha Brown's first book, Assembly, which was a very similar volume actually. It was very similar in length. And Assembly was all about kind of a woman speaking in front of a crowd of young people and having to sort of convince them that the future was exciting and that they should have ambition and all these dreams, when actually she's feeling pretty miserable. She's done everything right. She's got the high quality degree. She's found a hardworking husband. She's got a great job. And yet she always feels like she has to prove something about herself as a Black British woman. I really enjoyed seeing the way that she fleshed out those ideas and expanded on them. And it was so concise but brilliant. This one I think is a little different in theme. So, on a Yorkshire farm, a man is brutally bludgeoned with a solid gold bar. A plucky young journalist sets out to uncover the truth surrounding the attack, connecting the dots between an amoral banker landlord, an iconoclastic columnist, and a radical anarchist movement. She solves the mystery, but her viral long-read exposé raises more questions than it answers. Universality is a twisty, slippery descent into the rhetoric of truth and power. Through a voyeuristic lens, it focuses in on words, what we say, how we say it, and what we really mean. An addictively nasty celebration of the spectacular force of language. It dares you to look away. I just thought that sounded so good, and I'm very lucky to have this early proof, which is literally gold. And then, okay, so Penguin Archive recently released 90 books to celebrate the 90-year anniversary of Penguin. So each collection is just red and white, and the covers reflect the design kind of aesthetic that was popular in the year in which it was originally released. So this is by Gertrude Stein. This is Paris, France. She was first published by Penguin in 1966. And also each book has a slightly different logo based on what the Penguin logo was at the time of publication for their work originally. So such a cool idea, such a cool concept. And honestly, I really just miss Paris and I wanted to read a book about it. And the other thing is, I feel like everyone has been singing that Joni Mitchell song about sitting in a park in Paris, France, reading the news, and it sure looks bad. And this book being called Paris, France made me want to read this too. All Frenchmen know you have to become civilized between 18 and 23, and that civilization comes upon you by contact with an older woman, by revolution, by army discipline, by any escape, or by any subjection, and then you are civilized and life goes on normally in a Latin way. Gertrude Stein's Paris, France, published in 1940, on the day Paris fell to Nazi Germany. That's so interesting. Is a witty account of Stein's life in France and the perfect introduction to her work. Now, I've actually never read anything by Gertrude Stein, but she was sort of in that literary community with Ernest Hemingway and F. Scott Fitzgerald. I mean, her and Hemingway were sort of like literary rivals in a way. But she's mentioned a lot in A Movable Feast, and so I really wanted to get familiar with her work, and the fact that this says it's a perfect introduction, sign me up. Then another author whose work I've wanted to get around to for a really long time but never have is Brandon Taylor. I feel like a lot of people, when they're talking about other books in their reviews, will be like, oh, this is Brandon Taylor-esque. He's the kind of name that you can quote on the cover of someone else's book and make people buy that one. And so by that merit, I'm like, I need to read something that he has written too. So this is real life. This is set on a university campus. It was shortlisted for the 2020 Booker Prize. I think it's like Midwestern America. Let's see, the blurb says, almost everything about Wallace is at odds with the Midwestern campus where he is working uneasily towards a biochem degree. An introverted young man from Alabama, black and queer, he enforces a wary distance even within his own circle of friends. But over the course of a late summer weekend, confrontations with colleagues and an unexpected encounter with an ostensibly straight white classmate fracture his defenses while exposing long-hidden currents of hostility and desire within their community. A novel of profound and lacerating power, Real Life asks if we ever really have the possibility to overcome our private wounds, and at what cost. It sounds so good. I really know nothing about biochemistry, so hopefully I'll learn a thing or two, but this sounds like there's going to be some really interesting confrontations. I love books also about a friend group. I think that will be really interesting and exciting to read. And the reason this is on my summer TBR is because it takes place over a hot, sticky summer weekend. And so it feels only right to read it in the sunshine somewhere, I think. Now, before I tell you about the next book, I wanted to let you know that today's video is very kindly brought to you by Squarespace. Thank you so much to Squarespace for working with me. Now, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform for building a website or an online brand. And the best news is you don't need any coding experience. You don't need to be an expert web developer. You can use Squarespace's range of hundreds of incredible templates that are available on their website and customize them, make them completely your own, add the features that you will find most beneficial for your personal business. So for example, you can add a blog, you can add an email sign-up list, your customers can get flexible payments, and there is AI SEO, which basically helps you to make sure that your website appears high on search results. And this is so important because obviously you've made this beautiful thing. Now you want people to be able to find the beautiful thing you've made. So if all of that sounds good, you can head to squarespace.com right now for a free trial. And then when you're ready to launch your beautiful new website, you can use the code JackInTheBooks at squarespace.com/JackInTheBooks to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you so much to Squarespace for working with me on this series, on my TBRs. And now, this next book is called Last Night at the Telegraph Club. This is by Melinda Lowe, and I'll be honest with you, the reason I want to read this book is because people are trying to ban it in South Carolina. Best believe, if conservative mums in South Carolina are trying to ban a book, I'm going to go and buy a copy to support the author. So I saw her talking about this on TikTok, but this book had been on my radar anyway. And so this just kind of gave me the kick up the backside to buy a copy and now to read it as well. Sarah Waters says that this book shimmers with the thrills of youthful desire, a lovely, memorable novel. 17-year-old Lily Hu can't remember exactly when the question took root, but the answer was in full bloom the moment she and Kathleen Miller walked under the flashing neon sign of a lesbian bar called the Telegraph Club. It's America in 1954, and it's not a safe place for two girls to fall in love, especially not in Chinatown. Red Scare paranoia threatens everyone, including Chinese Americans like Lily. With deportation looming over her father despite his hard-won citizenship, Lily and Kath risk everything to let their love see the light of day. Bill Koenigsberg describes this as an instant classic. Her depiction of first love felt so real that I experienced it in long since forgotten corners of my own heart. Are you kidding me? Are you actually kidding me? That just sounds amazing. It's exquisite and heart-shattering. Like, say no more. Sometimes you need the summertime sadness. Sometimes you need like the cathartic binge of emotions in amongst all of the kind of joy of being in the sunshine and being outside. And yeah, I think that this one sounds absolutely amazing. Last Night at the Telegraph Club. And then this book has one of the best titles ever. In fact, the next two books have incredible titles. This one is One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This. But the full quote, which is also on the cover, is, "One day, when it's safe, when there's no personal downside to calling a thing what it is, when it's too late to hold anyone accountable. Everyone will have always been against this. This is by Omar El Akkad, and this is a kind of damning indictment of the West and kind of the West letting people down, the West allowing for tragedies to happen, specifically in the context of Gaza. I'll read you the description in full just to do it justice. One day, everyone will have always been against this is an urgent and necessary reckoning about what it means to live in the West today. As an immigrant, Omar El Akkad believed the West offered freedom and justice for all. Over the past 20 years, he reported on the various wars on terror, Ferguson, climate change, Black Lives Matter protests, and more. He has won multiple awards for his journalism and his fiction. But now, watching the unmitigated slaughter in Gaza, he has come to the conclusion that much of what the West promotes is a lie. This powerful book is a chronicle of this painful realization, a moral grappling with what it means as a citizen, as a father, to carve out some sense of possibility during these devastating times. This is a book for those that have tired of moral emptiness. This is a book for everyone who wants something better. This feels like essential reading right now. It feels like it should be mandatory reading right now, honestly. David Olusoga says, to get a glimpse of how we in the early 21st century might one day be judged for our passivity and hypocrisy, I urge you to read Omar El Akkad's astonishing book. I feel like so many of us just feel this profound sense of guilt right now, and it's such an uncomfortable feeling. It's such an uncomfortable reality to watch our governments do nothing, to watch our governments fail people who need their support so much and, you know, who could make such a difference. So I've had my eye on this book for a while, but it just feels like now is the time to read this and report back, and I will share what I get from this as well. So I will let you know, but it's described as part elegy, part rallying cry. This magnificent book should and will be required reading for future generations, trying to reckon with one of humanity's darkest chapters. It's heavy, but I think so important. This is another title that I absolutely love. Back to fiction now. This is The City Changes Its Faces. It's set in 1995. It's about two people who move to a city together and they feel so in love and like tangled in their bed sheets, drinking coffee together in the mornings, thinking how lucky they are to be alive. But we then catch up with them again 18 months later, and those rose-tinted glasses have kind of worn off a little bit. They both are confronting their pasts and decisions that they have made that they can no longer outrun. Now they face a reckoning for all that's been left unspoken, emotions, secrets, and ambitions. Tonight, if they are to find one another again, what must be said aloud? Love rallies against life. Time tells truths. The city changes its face. I love this idea that the city transforms based on your mood and what you're going through in your life. Like when they first moved to the city, I'm sure it all felt so shiny and exciting in a land of possibility and potential. But as things start to crumble in their personal lives, the city too loses its spark and its glamour and its appeal a little bit. And it probably feels suffocating rather than exciting. Suffocating instead of embracing, perhaps, you know? Isn't that interesting? The difference between being embraced and being suffocated. You know, it's kind of essentially the same movement, but it's how you feel the force differently, and how wanted the force is. Kind of makes you think. So yeah. And then finally, this book is called Coloured Television. It's by Danzy Senna, the best-selling author of Caucasia, a brilliant dark comedy about love and ambition, failure and reinvention, and the racial identity industrial complex. So I'm pretty sure this book is about someone who grows up with not a lot of money and then is suddenly offered the opportunity to go and house sit in Hollywood. And she's a writer. I love reading books about people who love to write. And, you know, I recently interviewed Caroline O'Donoghue at Hay Festival, and I asked her why she wrote about writers in her book, The Rachel Incident, which you may remember. I absolutely love that book. And I said to her, you know, what's your fascination with the craft of storytelling, but also with depicting storytellers? And she basically said, often writing about writers is just a practical thing. Firstly, because as a writer yourself, the author knows what it is like to live that life so thoroughly, but also because writers have a lot of free time and they have that kind of liberty, which means that lots of different things can happen to them. They also have to be sort of self-sufficient, so that it requires a lot of introspection and self-discipline and thinking about your self-image and also how you want to be perceived by the world. So very interesting why writers choose to write about writers. But I think that this book is about someone who was like pitching ideas but not having any luck and then ends up writing for a TV show. Funny, piercing and page-turning, coloured television is Senna's most on-the-pulse, ambitious and rewarding novel yet. Things are going well and then suddenly they start to go horribly wrong. And so I really want to read this book, and I am staying in Hollywood in a couple of days, so I am going to be taking this with me in my hand luggage and reading it while I'm there to kick off my summer. So yeah, these are my summer reads. Let me know what's on your summer TBR as well in the comment section down below. I always get such good recommendations from you guys. Often there are books I haven't even heard of that you guys are so excited to read, and next thing I know, I'm heading to the shop and buying them because now I want to read them too. So, I mean, my TBR could be about to get a lot longer once I read your comments, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. So thank you so much for watching this video. Remember to keep up with all the things I get up to this summer. You can head over to my Instagram and my TikTok, specifically Instagram. I share a lot of what I'm up to day to day on my stories. So if you want that kind of on the go insight, that's where I will be. Until then, all the best, stay in touch, have the most wonderful day, and I'll catch you very, very soon. Bye-bye.